There was a recent Fox interview, and listen for his kid crying. Have a listen.
To push for continuing to send U.S. weapons and support there, and you posted that he was a traitor. Well, why do that?
Well, I think somebody should care about the interests of the United States above the interests of another country. And
Sure.
if they don't, they're a traitor.
Yeah, but he's a decorated veteran, a former astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator.
That doesn't mean it's okay for him to put the interests of another country above America.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but there is a battle back and forth about how do you think it comes to an end?
Well, I think there will be a negotiated peace.
Yeah, but to be fair, we hear kid,
Right.
but we don't know who the exact kid is, but we can guess.
Right, and then that's essentially like how you have to think about Elon. Like there's all of these indicators of sort of bad things going on, and you don't know exactly for sure. Like you hear a kid crying, hear a kid screaming. I mean, you guys can hear it.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but there is a battle.
Do we know 100% it's Elon's kid? No.
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 Yeah, no.
We don't. But we know that Elon likes to take his kid everywhere. The kid is a body shield. The mom actually doesn't want Elon to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that if someone else bring their kids, they are fired.
Oh, right. Because like, every day bring your kid to work day. I'm pretty sure your boss wouldn't like that. Actually, true story, the defense secretary, the guy that drinks, he believes it's a bring your wife day. So he's been bringing his wife to important top secret type of meetings, which is kind of weird. And then also it's bring your brother to work day. His brother is been working with him as well. So
but they're not 5 years old. Their brother is 3 years old.
Yeah, and I guess the wife and the brother maybe is not the body shield. I don't know. Anyway, so going with the Elon stuff, the other big one today was he's selling Twitter. Do you know who? To who?
To himself.
Yeah, to himself. He's selling Twitter to himself. What do we make of this, do you think?
I don't know. Actually, when I read the Korean article, they portrayed it, that they're gonna, going to go one big company, so it's gonna be synergy.
Oh, okay. That's the argument they were making.
Not arguments. I feel like they're just writing like that.
Oh, okay.
They don't say any kind of negative thing. What is the real, behind of the trading?
Interesting. Yeah, because in our media, I mean, Elon's such a controversial figure, right? Everyone has a different opinion on this stuff. So we do know. This is what we know. Elon tweeted out that XAI, his AI company, is going to be buying X, right?
Yes.
But there's a lot of details that we don't know. So, for example, did Elon talk to the various investors in the different companies? Are you okay with that? Because for some people, if I invested in XAI, the AI stuff, I maybe didn't want to buy Twitter.
Yeah, because it's kind of failing company right now.
Yeah. These are privately, held companies, so we don't really know what their books are. You get rumors, but we don't really know for sure. So the rumors lately is theoretically advertisers are coming back because they want influence with him and Trump. So that would be one. But do we know for sure? No, because the way they value this thing, it's a private company, and the value is whatever Elon says it is, because he's selling it to himself.
Yeah, so my humble opinion is, before it dropped down more, he just buy himself before it goes value more.
It's not going to go more value though, because Twitter's not making any money.
Yeah, so it's go down more.
Right.
Before it lose the value more.
Well, right, but you could make the case that if XAI is going to buy Twitter, wouldn't you want it to go to zero and then buy it? Theoretically?
Theoretically. Yeah, theoretically, but after that, the other investors absolutely going to say no. If you are doing that, it's kind of...
Why would they say no, in your opinion?
Because it's losing, it's like failing company.
No, it already is failing company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we don't know. We don't know what the investors are necessarily saying. Generally speaking, though, depending on which side of the bargain you're on. So I would say maybe the X investors like it because they're getting bailed out, and then maybe the XAI investors don't like it.
Yeah.
Because they're buying the failing company, but they're both failing. That's where it depends how you define failing. Okay, so why would I say XI is failing? Because when I think of the whole AI race, I think the first company would be OpenAI is the leader in that, right? The other one would be because Elon is tied to said company, and if I'm an investor, I do not want anything to do with Elon, right? So you could argue they're all failing.
Yeah, you can ban anytime, like Tesla.
Yeah. So
He doesn't even talk about it anymore, right?
not really.
He's selling, but he's not really talking about it.
His priority these days is on politics actually, and he's getting a lot of in trouble lately. So his latest scam, whatever you want to call it. So there's an election on courts, like we're talking about judges voting for judges, which usually doesn't get a lot of attention. It's like just usually not. But if Elon decides to put a bunch of money in said thing, and I think this has been the most money into like an election of judges, I guess you want to call it, in history that they were saying. Elon's running a lottery, and the basic idea is that if you sign his petition, I think he'll pay you $100. Is one thing, right?
To gain?
Yeah, the same thing, similar thing in Pennsylvania, but every state has different laws. So in Wisconsin, they're already like, yo, this is like totally bribery, totally illegal.
And plus,
what's that?
first one was fixed.
Right?
They already picked someone.
I think they did. I remember that.
But there's no evidence.
Well, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I actually brought that up. So if you guys understand, they had this lottery thing in Pennsylvania, and then it felt like the people at the event and the people who were picked might have already been pre-selected or whatever. So there's some scam there. It felt like. Also, when you're picked, you are hired to be a spokesperson.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of a job in a way. But then in the Wisconsin one, they got in trouble because he said, okay, if you want to win my lottery thing, you have to sign my petition, and then you can come to the event. Then the way they had like how you come to the event, okay, because every state has different laws, and like if you have a sweepstakes or a lottery, sometimes you have to make it like you can free to enter. So that everyone has a chance. So theoretically, everyone has a chance to win, right? I think there's rules in this kind of stuff because like fixed lotteries, like things that are rigged. We say rigged or just unfair. It's deceptive, right? Especially when money is changing hands. Plus, just it smells bad. Of we don't want people just buying votes.
What's happening, it seems to me, is they're being fed propaganda by the far left, and they believe it. It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them.
Essentially, right? It's not really something
someone on your comment that's just automatically that's illegal.
Should be, yeah. I mean, I laugh at this stuff because there's a lot of things that Elon does, should be illegal. He cries a lot on the media and the news and stuff like that. He's going to be hit again with another thing he has to face in course is how he bought Twitter. So this is yet another thing. So the ruling came out on Friday. He's been trying. So dismiss means to get rid of the lawsuit. Like the lawsuit's just like frivolous, no good. You have no ground argument. Throw it away. But the judge is like, no, you have to face this. So what it was is that when he was buying Twitter, you reach a certain amount of ownership. You have to tell everyone that you're buying. Yeah, and so I think he waited 11 days essentially, and look, we have actually evidence of like emails and stuff like that. They did it on purpose, so they try to pretend, oh, we didn't know. And for those of you who don't understand this stuff, is basically think of it this way: once Elon publicly says, "I'm going to try to buy Twitter," then everyone else starts buying the stock, and then the stock goes up. So if you keep it secret, then you're buying it
low price.
Yeah, so he'll have to face for that. A pension fund is suing him on that one. So he's got Twitter's lawsuit. He's got the Wisconsin election thing lawsuit. He's also got the influencer lawsuit, right? The baby mama.
Baby mama.
Yeah, because he's got 14 kids or whatever, and then you got crying kids and stuff. And then the other thing I was thinking too with Elon, which is kind of interesting, he's been fighting over video games these days. I don't know if you've heard about that one. It's another.
What?
It's okay. So before he paid someone to play a video
Yeah.
game to be like really good.
Yeah.
So there's this new game. It's called Assassin's Creed. His like, people in his community, they're really mad because there's you have an option as a character.
Uh-huh.
Do I want to have a love interest with the boy, or do I have a love interest with the girl? Like you
Yeah.
can choose.
Yeah.
So some people don't like that.
Then why they fought?
I know it's a video
What
game.
they're fighting for?
Because they love video games and they're sad about that video game. And then there's actually a black samurai in the game in Japan, and it's actually based on a real historical figure who was from Africa,
Yeah.
who was trained as a warrior. They'll debate whether or not he was a real samurai, even though, frankly, I don't really care about these things. But but I'm saying though is that Elon Musk actually gets in Twitter arguments over like characters in video games. And then recently today he actually retweeted himself playing
The video game again?
yeah. So this is what I was saying going back to the beginning. Like I think all his companies are failing because the guy's on something. It's pretty obvious from interviews. And the other thing I was thinking about, because when he recently did the Fox interview, you can watch it if you want, but I'll just say there's a lot of misinformation in there. How do you classify someone that actually believes the conspiracies that they say? Is that a liar? Like they believe is that? Do you guys
Yeah, but they're living
because they are saying lies,
but they really believes that, right?
Right. So like for example, does he really believe? Because he has said this in the last podcast that he's going to have a city on Mars with 1 million people in the city.
So you're going to need on the order of 1 million people, maybe 1 million tons of cargo.
So, but you think we could have 1 million people on Mars in 20 years?
Yes.
And what's the technology we're missing right now? When you think about 1 million people on Mars, do we have the ability to get water, to get food, to keep them safe? I mean, what do we need to make that happen?
Well, you need to recreate the entire base of industry of Earth. So, we're here at the top of a massive pyramid of industry that starts with mining a vast array of materials, those materials going through hundreds of steps of refinement.
Which is just impossible, frankly. It's impossible. So does he really believe it, or does he know he's lying? And then, because like, how do you think about this kind of person?
Both are really bad. Both are really bad. If he really believes it, he's
Okay.
gonna push it more.
Right.
Right?
So you're
'Cause
pushing a fake thing,
fake
right?
thing, and
right.
he's gonna really try, I guess, no matter what, something's failing or.
And he'll get a lot of people killed. And that so that would be like, do you remember the submarine accident? People always mention that. There was a guy who took, I think it was 5 or 6 people on the submarine down to look at Titanic.
Titanic.
And basically everybody died. Right. So, and I think that person actually did believe it because he went down with them.
Yeah. So that, that was maybe the technical issue, something like that. But, that's when if he really believes it, that is the problem. Also problem if he sees a lie, but he's keep trying it and keep trying to scam people, that's also a big problem.
Right, because they're saying they're both bad. Well, here's the thing about the Musk and his delusions. They asked him, this is the Ted Cruz thing, will you go to Mars? And it didn't sound like he's going to go, which is kind of interesting. So that would indicate maybe he doesn't actually believe in his own lies.
Go to even moon once.
No, he hasn't even been in his rockets.
Yeah, at all.
So it doesn't inspire a lot of faith in me. The reason why I mentioned this is because in the last interview he was basically pushing a lot of Russia propaganda kind of stuff. And I was thinking about this because there's 2 ways you could think about it. Is Elon Musk, controlled by the Russians and paid, and is he working with them actively? The other option would be, which I'm kind of leaning towards because I don't know. You never know what's going on in someone's head. But if he spends all his time on the Twitter platform and it's all filled with
those kind of people,
right? So then he just thinks,
really believes that
yeah,
Russia is doing right thing.
So it's hard to say, like, are you actively working for Russia or are you just fooled by Russia? I mean,
same as his religion, if you're a Christian, there is no Jesus, you're not gonna believe it.
So
no matter what. there's no.
Yeah, religion's not really about logic, you know.
Yeah, it's
and,
not
and,
logic.
and I know people get mad if you mention that
Yeah,
stuff,
it's
but
the same
it's
as, you know,
what's that?
Buddha is not real. You know, same as that.
Yeah,
So,
for some people say, yeah. Why would you go to a Buddha temple? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
real,
yeah.
right? And then people who goes like, because I like to go, and you know, so it's really hard to say. But he gets really passionate with promoting Russia stuff, and this is why you can't really even really show it. If you want to watch the pro-Russia stuff, you know, be my guest. But I find it really odd.
Those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because they're virtue signaling, and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
He's calling a senator, his name is Kelly, Senator Kelly, a traitor, Paysanjok, traitor. And this senator was a pilot, a veteran, is clearly not a traitor. And basically Musk was saying, well, when you, from Musk's point of view, he said, when you put another country's interests, you know, ahead of USA, then you're a traitor. And the first thing I thought of is like, Musk will never say a bad thing about China. And he never says anything bad about Russia.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of
they're only
weird.
friends right now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like how do you even think about Musk?
Yeah, so you know,
What's that?
theoretically during the war, Russia, Ukraine, right? So Russia started. But
Right.
they keep saying that Ukraine, you should give up. But,
Yeah, that's what Musk keeps saying.
Yeah, but Russia can stop the war too because they started it, so they can just finish it.
And that's basically Russia propaganda. So if Musk were honest, he would say Russia stop fighting, Russia go home.
Yeah, go home.
That's Ukraine's home. But
it's not your home, so just
yeah,
go to your home.
he doesn't say that.
Just say that, oh, Ukraine, you're killing your kid. You think about your kids, but he doesn't even think about his kids. But it's so ironic.
So when we get into all this stuff, guys, I want you to understand how like there are many levels on this thing. There's his financial situation, which is a house of cards. You're basically buying and selling amongst yourself of all failing companies. You also appear to be a bit crazy. You could be a bit of a liar, a bit of a psychopath, like all mixed in. You could be manipulated for all we know. I mean, there's multiple things going on. Does he believe in delusions or not? And then you have all his like weird baby mama cult following. On top of that, then you have all of these paid influencers that are paid to promote his nonsense. And then also he interacts with accounts that it was actually I didn't know this, but there's an account he interacts with, and one of the senators called it out, saying that this account used to be a reporter or correspondent, I think, or contributor. I don't want to say it. There's different ways you can classify it for the Russia Today. So I knew many of these accounts were like pro-Russia accounts, but this one in particular is called Ian. I think it's like Miles Chong or Ian Chong, I think something like that. And I think that person lives in Singapore. Someone mentioned. I don't know exactly, but I didn't realize that person was also like literally like working for the Russians. I know he's done other ones for like more like Nazi type Germany type accounts. And then Musk gets really mad if you call him out on that stuff. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, but he's the one who.
Right. We wouldn't say why are you working with Russia when you're literally interacting with these kind of things. And then the other really fascinating thing to watch from more just a historical standpoint, how all of these like people who really like cars suddenly now really like Russia and suddenly really like that kind of stuff, or suddenly start promoting like we'll just call it pro Nazi thinking. I don't how else to say it. Frankly, just racist kind of things. So it's weird because like just because I like a car doesn't suddenly mean I would want to.
So
like
now
those
it's
kind of
everything's going down. People need to blame someone. Everything, So they pick some group that you can blame.
Well, that's and unfortunately because a lot of people have been saying this in comments. Because we all, and I don't know about Korea, I don't know, but in USA we all studied how the whole situation in Germany happened in World War II. Like that's part of we study. I'm assuming you guys must study what happened in North Korea. You must study that kind of stuff because like you don't think it could happen in USA per se. Like you'd like to think so, But what happens is when you destroy education long enough, and when you know, remove any kind of critical thinking, and people don't even know what real is anymore, or people don't even know what
They
history
only
is.
show one side.
Yeah, and you know, this is, and also I think the big one is like every day they attack education. And so these should be really obvious indicators. And it's really hard to talk about this because, like, for example, people on the channel will say, I try to get my friends in the, you know, the Trump land or MAGA land or Musk land to watch your channel, but like they just won't. And so, and then someone actually mentioned too, when you watch like the more, like we'll say the Musk channels or whatever, because I've seen this for myself, I can confirm it. Like the more Republican or right-leaning channels, they just scream and yell, like a literal yell, you know. And a lot of these people are high school dropouts, college dropouts.
And Tim, you left school at 14,
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah,
that was
I went
it.
to high school for like 2 months.
You're just like, I can't. I'm done.
Oh, it's the stupidest waste of time.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're not advocating not graduating high school, though.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Really?
huge waste of time. There's this weird conflating of a high school diploma with a path to success. It makes literally no sense. Taking someone who's 14 and saying, go into an institutionalized learning facility, which will give you no real world life skills for 4 years. Talk about wasting formative years. What I did, I was programming websites, I was doing Flash animation, I was making video games, I was playing music, I was traveling, I was skateboarding. Traveling around the area, the city, meeting people.
Reading books is a very cheap way to, I guess, entertain. I wouldn't call it entertainment because my brain is far too advanced. I'm too smart to read. I'm not gonna sit there and go, smart people read. No, I need action. I need constant chaos in my life to feel content. I need to be driving a supercar and fighting a bunch of hoes and champagne and going crazy. I can't just sit there, and the pirate on the boat. Like, it's for people with slow brains.
I'm serious. Like these are just objectively facts. Like I mentioned, like for example, the Tim Pool guy. He's a high school dropout. Not making trans. And he said, you know, my time was better spent playing video games and skateboarding than it was to, you know, be in school. That's literally his explanation. Many of the people on Fox News are college dropouts. I mean, at least they went to college, but they're Hannity's. I think he's a dropout. I think a couple of the other ones are. I've looked it up several times, so trust me, I'm not just making random stuff up. And so, you know, when you compare that to people quote left, who all have advanced degrees, if you don't know what that means, it means like a master's degree, PhD, law degree, medical degree, you know, like actual training. It's obvious. And so that's why, like when I talk about on the channel with you guys, because I was a professor, I'm fine with people having different opinions, and I'll even tell you, like, okay, this person makes this argument. Is that a good argument? What's their evidence? Like that's just how you talk as like a regular person. And then I just tell you too that the facts, like when people just say dumb things, it's like hard to have these conversations because then they'll say, well, no, you're dumb. Well, no, you're dumb. And so then you kind of devolve into, you know, that kind of world.
You can't even have conversation.
Yeah, and so, you know, for anyone, this is the best way to think about this stuff. If for those of you who love Musk and you think Musk is the most awesomest superhero, engineer, whatever, go find people around you, if you know anyone, that are real engineers, right? That actually have real degrees, be it master's, PhD in engineering or whatever, or work at, you know, companies.
They don't have friends who has PhD.
You got to be nice. But just ask any of your friends that would have a technical skill.
Yeah.
No, but you are bringing up a good point because yes, there are some people around there that
only, you know,
they don't know anyone else.
We say, you know, we say kiri. So certain people, you know, hang out with certain people. Certain people just hang out with certain people.
Right. And then and I don't ever want to give it.
That's why it's hard to, you know, break your thinking.
Yeah. And I don't want to ever give the impression that means that everyone has to go college. That's not necessarily the case because I give you simple examples like, you know, when we go out in town, and I'm sure you guys were in your neck of the woods, say we go to restaurants and there may be people there that work at the restaurant. That's their business. They run a perfectly honest business. They're hardworking people. They make great food. Like not everyone has to go and, you know, read books all day, every day and, you know, study. Yeah. Or, you know, people who are, say, police officers in your neighborhood or firefighters, they do a great job. Like so I don't ever get the impression that the only, you know, jobs or people you should talk to are the people who have degrees. I'm just saying, if you're going to trust someone who's building you an electric car and sending you to Mars and that stuff, and they say a bunch of like nonsense science stuff, and people who are actually experts in science call it out, then you have to listen. It's the same way of like, you know, let's say I watch and you guys know this, you watch your favorite sports channel And you like to hear from the former players who are like experts in that sport, what they think about what's going on in the field. It's the same kind of thinking. So, you know, if basically the vast, you know, community who are in engineering and science, who are not paid by Elon, because they'll always say this, always say, well, Chris, but what about, you know, so-and-so, well, you know, did that person work for Elon? Or the other, and the people who pump Elon up the most are actually basically Wall Street kind of people. So basically they're pumping
for the
scams.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, there's people out there that money is the most important thing to them, and they'll say whatever they can to convince you to buy into the scam. So the scam is, you know, that Elon's the smartest guy in the world, that he's the richest guy in the world, but the reality is it's a house of cards. And these kind of actions where you're buying and selling amongst yourself in the failing companies, you kind of know it's going to collapse, and the question is when, and that's what we're watching for. So anyway, that's what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. So bye.
Bye.